and then suddenly we got a bunch of emails from guys like Apple and Google, and people saying, you know, this is hot, you know, let's talk.
Hello everyone, welcome to our first Future session inspired by Windows 8. We're here today to teach you guys how to build and grow your own digital empire. I think it's a bit of a dream now after you sort of see movies like The Social Network and the success of companies like Facebook and social media companies, mobile gaming companies. The beauty is that the web has made entrepreneurship really accessible for almost anyone, and no matter what you're studying at university, there's definitely applications that could lead to you starting up your own business or potentially working with a startup. And we're really lucky today to have essentially the digital equivalent of like the 92 Dream Team in the room. We have Phil Larsen, who is from Halfbrick Studios. They are the developers behind games such as Fruit Ninja and Jetpack Joyride. They've had over 300 million downloads of their games globally. We have Timmerman, who at only 26 has started Beginning Boutique, which has grown to over 6 full-time staff and over 300,000 fans of the online boutique on Facebook. We also have Mr. Baxter, who is a serial founder. He's an angel investor. He's the founder of River City Labs, which is a technology incubator in Brisbane. He also served 9 years in the army, so we're not going to be screwing around with Stephen and with any difficult questions. So yeah, without further ado, we might just jump into things. By way of introduction, my name's Chris Sinha. I'm the co-founder of Pedestrian.tv. It's an online pop culture news website. And yeah, I'm here because Will Anderson was a returning after all. So cool guys, so we might just get started by having you tell us a little bit about how you got started in your respective fields and how it is that you got to where you are today. So Phil, do you want to kick off?
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Alright, sweet. So yeah, I'm Phil. I'm at Halfbrick Studios. We made Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride, and a number of other iPhone games which you may or may not have played. So a bit of my background. I'm from Brisbane, sort of born and raised, and I got my start doing a lot of multimedia stuff, some coding, some art, some design. Ultimately, wasn't really good at any of those things. And sort of moved into the business side, so I did a lot of marketing and advertising. I've been a tech journalist. I've also been a copywriter for a number of different ad agencies. And then, at heart, I've always been a gamer, and I've played games my entire life. So I joined Halfbrick to sort of head up their marketing and publishing strategy. I don't know how many years ago, 5 or so years ago, when we were kind of moving into creating original IP and getting that out into the marketplace, and it's gone pretty well so far. So yeah, it's 500 million downloads.
500 million downloads. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's alright.
What's the goal? How big do you think you guys will take it?
Well, I mean, it's for us to say, oh, well, we want 1 billion downloads or 2 billion. I mean, like, that's okay. It's a big number, but we really want to be able to keep making sweet products and get them into the hands of people who like them. So if there's a way we can make a game that's downloaded 10,000 times, but it serves that particular audience really, really well, and it monetizes well, and we can build a business out of it, then that's a fine goal for us.
Yeah, really. Sarah, did you want to give us a run through about how you got started with your boutique?
Yeah, so back in 2008 I started Beauty Boutique, and it's an online store that sells women's clothing. We have a market ranging from 16 to 30, and we focus on delivering fast, affordable fashion for women that just want to wear something that they feel comfortable in and look great in. We've used social media to really grow strongly, and I hope I can share some stuff with you about growing your digital empire.
And Stephen?
Oh yeah, thanks Steve Baxter. It's been a very long time since I was in the army, mate. You're not going to see that at all. So yeah, back when probably outrun me. Most people can outrun me. The Fruit Ninja guy can outrun me. So yes, I started my career as a voice soldier at 15 years old. I did 9 years in the regular army. I got out to start I had my own business before I got out of the army. I was an internet service provider in South Australia. We grew that to be about the 8th or 9th largest in Australia at the time. We sold that in 99-2000. Came back to Brisbane with 2 tranches, two transactions, one in 99, one in 2000. Came back to Brisbane in 2001. Started a new business with an old schoolmate called Boat Networks. We listed that in the stock exchange in 2005. I left there as a full-time executive in 2008, and we sold that to another competitor in 2010. Subsequent to that, I also worked at Google for 12 months and 1 day, and it turns out that I'm the world's worst employee, but I wasn't going to pay back that sign-on bonus. So went and worked at Google in Mountain View in California for a year. Came back to Australia and became an angel investor. Subsequently started looking around. I was doing a lot of investing and a lot of prospecting for investments out of Sydney and Melbourne, and found that in Queensland and in Brisbane in particular was pretty poor pickings. So I identified there were certain parts of the infrastructure that was missing, one of those being a space that entrepreneurs can gather. So we created River City Labs, which is a not-for-profit co-working space, 550 metres in Fortitude Valley. We're on Wickham Street. The neighbours aren't quite street proud, we're in the middle of that grungy part of the valley. And we've had about 60 or 70 companies go through there in 12 months, and about 120 entrepreneurs in that period of time. So it's been a lot of fun.
Right. So before you started Digital Empire, you need an idea. Can you guys talk us through some of the places that the ideas have come from, or the businesses that you've worked in or started up yourself? So Halfbrick has a particularly interesting story about the idea of where Fruit Ninja actually came from. Can you talk us through where that inspiration?
Yeah, so we decided to make a game for an iPhone. A really simple one-screen game, because at the time in 2009, I forget when we released it. That was, the casual games, things that are accessible to everybody is what was going really well. And there's various mechanics that you can use the touchscreen for, some of them well, some of them not very well. We were like, well, if you're slicing, that's something no one's really done before, using your fingers to sort of slice, and now a lot of games do it. And a guy at work, Luke, he was watching TV one night, and one of those crappy infomercials came on where they're selling these really sharp knives, and they sliced the fruit like in the air to show them how sharp the knife was, and you should buy this amazing set of knives. And it was sort of a slow motion thing, and all the juice came out, and we were like, well, that's a great idea to make to be able to slice something that isn't like blood and guts, so we can appeal to kids, and it's completely G-rated, everything's more than fine. So we said, well, what uses a sword? Ninjas do, and that's basically it. I mean, and that kind of, so no matter how stupid your idea sounds, if it has the right market, it has the right platform, and you have the team to be able to execute on it, then you can turn into something quite big.
And Sarah, so you actually started your business yourself. Can you talk us through why you started it? What made you not just go and get a full-time job somewhere else? What made you want to start your own online fashion business?
It's funny because Ria and I were questioning the very reason behind starting our own online business, but it's a great platform to be on. Obviously, with beginning, it was a great opportunity to do something that wasn't hugely done. I know that online boutiques now, there's like a million of them, so I guess having the idea, you just need to know what you're going to fulfill. So what part of your customers' need are you going to answer? I think it was the first thing when I started beginning, there was my catwalk. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, in a frock shop, and they were like the two big deals. And from those two, I was like, I can't afford anything on these websites. What should I start? And went into the affordable version of fashion and to answer that. And basically, with the idea, I would just say you need to have someone. There will be one experienced person in your life that knows about business. Get them and tell them your idea, and make sure that you get as much feedback as possible before you start out.
And Stephen, you see a lot of young entrepreneurs and people with startups coming through River City Labs. You also invest in some yourself. Can you talk us through are there any common threads that sit between those people that are successful from their startups?
Having been doing this now for about 18 months, I've had no success in investing in other people. So I can sort of talk about what I look at with respect to those sort of investments. I look at you need an exceptionally capable team. Ideas don't mean anything. If you don't get out there and execute your idea, it's absolutely valueless. If you don't have the technical skills to execute it, and you want to be in business doing that, go out and get the technical skills, otherwise it's valueless. So we have lots of loud and proud business people with ideas coming, looking for a tech person to work for free for them. It's not going to happen. The best team I have actually invested in the labs are two merchant bankers who had an idea, went down to Dimix, bought the Linux, Microsoft bought the Linux, MySQL and Apache book, and actually built their website and built their business from that. They've subsequently found a technical co-founder that they've joined together with another team. So they've got a lot more ability there. But if you can't actually get that up off the ground and prototype that, then it's actually got no currency at all. It'd have to be an idea that's good. You can clap and gold will fall from the sky. Otherwise it's worth nothing.
So what are the first things that you have to do to take your idea from the idea stage and actually start to build it, whether it's online? I mean, I think there's a lot of talk about minimum viable products and putting something out there, but there's also other people who sort of say, well, if it's the first time the consumer is seeing your product, it should be polished, it should be ready to go. Where do you guys sit on that? How does Halfbrick develop products that go into the market?
Well, Halfbrick's kind of been through a varied history. You know, we started in 2001 developing games for Game Boy Advance, of all things, and all of that was contract work that started out of literally a garage, I think. So it's a bunch of sort of graduates who don't make any money and are just trying to, you know, as Steve said, build up those technical skills and build up their own product to be able to take to a publisher or an investor and say, hey, we've actually got the skills and we're committed to making this happen. Can you give us a project and will you be our client? And that's sort of how it happened. And over the time, over many long years, we've kind of sort of put out, dipped our toes in the water in a number of different areas, and sort of investing that money back into the skills of people and investing that money into original ideas while still working on other people's ideas. And that's kind of an interesting balancing act. So, we developed maybe 15 or 20 games that came out on various platforms with various degrees of success before we, learned enough to be able to release a game like Fruit Ninja on iPhone. So it's, to be able to say, okay, well, let's, have an idea and it's an overnight success and suddenly you've got, hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, I think that can happen, but there's always a deeper story behind those startups and a lot of hard work.
How much time and development went into, say, Fruit Ninja?
Fruit Ninja originally 3 days, but that was, again, that was 3 days to get it up and running, but the execution and wrangling everything together took another, say, 3 months, which again doesn't seem that long, but since the minimum viable product that we released was enough to get it over the line and become a big hit back in the day. If we release that same product now, we'll get laughed out of the room. But we've been working on it full time ever since with like 70 people. So it's over 3 years now, I think. So
that's crazy. Very good. Sarah, how did the guinea pig take first?
Yes, I think you've got to work with what you've got. So not everyone's. I don't have massive funding. I have me and I did everything. So we started taking pictures on mannequin simply because that's what we had. I mean, the thing is the cash flow is king and you've got to live and breathe by that and do what you can as best as you can until you can afford better. We were really lucky now. We shot with Liz from Australia's Next Top Model, and that's a little bit of a dream for me coming into fruition 4 years later, not having to undress Gwendolyn, our mannequin, every day. That was pretty horrible. But I think excellence comes with just got to do the things you can do really well, and then when you've got money, you can start investing it back into your business and growing that.
Well, I think the first idea is never use the one you end with, really. So I know with Pipe, for example, we actually started our Pipe actually stands for Public Internet Peering Exchange. So we actually built the back-end routing infrastructure for ISPs and telcos in Australia. Really simple business, quite boring. And from that we got into dark fibre to the point where we actually ended up building a submarine cable from Sydney to Guam. So, so it's surprising what business leads you. One thing is, I suppose, you have to be in business to understand those opportunities. You never see, once you're in business, you get opportunity presented to you left, right and centre. So start something. The example I gave before of the chaps I invested in, the ex-bankers, they actually started out with a university solution for overseas student payments to actually take out a few percentage points when overseas students have to pay their bills. That's now morphed into overseas student healthcare. So they're in that space. They saw the opportunity because they're getting ripped off basically blind. So and now they're actually getting in there and trying to sort of take a lot of that captive market away from the main players. Using the internet to do it, but they wouldn't have seen an opportunity unless they were actually in that space. And that's called Overseas Healthcare Australia.com.au. In case you actually want to get a bit of a discount.
So, how do you grow from that startup stage? Well, was there key moments in the history of, say, Halfbrick or getting Griffith or any of your enterprises, Stephen, that you've seen that made a huge difference? Was it?
Yeah, when customers like it, it's always a refreshing day. Yeah. Now you mentioned lean startup before. So lean startup's a methodology whereby you rapidly test the thesis you have about business. If customers don't like it, you need to change it or stop doing it. So the things I suppose, and I look at my first business as an ISP. That was a cash cow. You really couldn't bank money fast enough. There was a lot of capital expenditure though, so there was a lot of moments in that. With respect to Pipe Networks, the telecoms infrastructure company, Big Brother was our big moment there. So Big Brother back in 2002, when we got with the show Big Brother, when we actually got to our job was to least cost route traffic between ISPs faster and cheaper. So when Big Brother was on the Gold Coast here, and a company called Primus Telecoms had the rights to internet streaming, we managed to. Well, we sort of broke into their data center and installed a cable. They'd sort of given us permission, maybe depending how you read the email. So we literally got this up, and they still had to configure their equipment. And that was how we got that going. And they were actually so happy they started paying us like double the amount of money because we were pushing 2 megabits a second for them. And that was unheard of because back then that cost like $32,000 a megabit or whatever it was. It was huge. So you know, just these customers that come along, you can push across the line, and then everything just starts. And Big Brother, everyone was watching Big Brother because it was the black label edition of the internet as well.
So how did you get fed up with your business, Sarah? Is that something that you took into play? I mean, you've got 300,000 Facebook fans who can touch on it later, but you must get a constant stream of what people like, what they don't like in the store and in what you're doing. What impact did that play in the sort of startup phase and the growth phase of beginning music?
Does anyone have us on Facebook? Yeah. You must get so annoyed by all the trolls on Facebook. Anyway, I think we get feedback constantly on our social medias, and I think you've got to know what's a troll or what's a real person. You know, is someone just having fun or are they actually a customer? But really putting yourself out there to get feedback. People want to give you feedback. They want to tell you how much they hate you, or if you do a really good job, they want to tell you how much they love you. Like, especially with Fruit Ninja, like products like that you put in front of someone, they're going to want to give you feedback. So just asking for it, I think, was the first place, and especially on social media, because it's free and you can get it straight away. And I think in terms of growing your idea as well, like pivotal moments happen when you integrate key technology into your idea, and I think staying ahead of technology, or at least with it, is really important.
Yeah, same with us. I mean, you got to the point where Fruit Ninja itself was kind of a cash cow, and you'd be like, well, you know, we could just sort of sit around and bank a check every month or so and keep the company going, but we decided, you know, and some people do that. I mean, the guy that created Tiny Wings, I think, he ended up with the same decision to, I'm going to go and become a major player in the game space, or I'm just going to go on holiday. I need to go on holiday. And he was one guy who made that game, so I guess he can do what he wants. We have quite a few people at the company, and we decided, well, we need to reinvest this. We need to use the power of our product to begin fueling other avenues like social media, and building out those channels and adding new and exciting tech to the game, so that now you can do a lot more in Fruit Ninja than just slice fruit. And that itself has built our business, and as we kind of explore those opportunities, it leads to more opportunities. It's really kind of if we just sort of shut our ears and did nothing, then we wouldn't have heard anything. But because we continue exploring in all kinds of different mobile tech spaces, you know, we meet new people and new opportunities arise. Simple as that.
Did you guys know straight away once Fruit Ninja was out there that it was going to be a huge hit? Or was there one, like, was there a day that you went, oh,
yeah, there was this kind of, but not really. Like, we knew Fruit Ninja could be as, you know, we knew that the success level that was possible. Like, Angry Birds was doing particularly well at the time, and obviously it's been doing well ever since. We're like, okay, well, we know the kind of goal to reach for, and we gave Fruit Ninja every possible chance of success that we could. So we knew that it could happen. We hoped it would, and it did. And it was, and there was a day at work when we were kind of watching the downloads tick over and watching the you know, all of the marketing keyed up, all of the sort of promotion, watching our social media pages rise, watching those downloads rise, and the game sort of rise in the charts. We're like, okay, yes, it's done its thing, and it hit the big time. And then I went home at about 7. This was on a Friday, and then I got a call from some people who still back in the office, and then suddenly we got a bunch of emails from guys like Apple and Google, and people saying, you know, this is hot, you know, let's talk. And also, here's all these different kind of things you can do. So I went back into the office that night at 11 and kept drinking. Well, I mean, I got there and everyone else had already had like 2 cartons of beer. So I was like, all right, let's sort of do this work, and you know, it was fun. Yeah, and it was just kind of the moment where like, okay, great, you know, we've turned heads down with what we've done. So now, you know, again, it was up to us to deliver what more stuff that people wanted, and as fans started talking to us, oh, we want this, we want that. You know, we had to make those smart choices. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, those first few weeks.
Those 3 days. So, Sarah, social media, you know, came up. The Guinea Boutique has 300,000 Facebook fans. You're actually doing a pedestrian coach session on that in the next week. How do you go from 0 Facebook fans to 300,000? How does that grow from a business that has 6 full-time staff?
You know, I have no life, so I do everything on Facebook. So anything you see, it's me. And the thing is, it's hours on the internet researching. It's also so much time preparing content. For the few people that have been on our Facebook, you know, everything's original content over all of our social medias, and I think that's really important because people that are talking to us on Instagram don't want to see what's on there from Facebook, because why would they follow both of your medias? With Facebook, it was really important to build we were just lucky as well, because we started before there were a million online stores doing Facebook. So getting in there first and really pumping a lot of time and effort into it, I think put us in front, because a lot of places were just doing not even a question like, here's a dress, buy it. And we kind of ask questions, and we want to know who you are, and we want to know your feedback. And I think with social media, you can't present, you have to question. And I think if you want to grow anything online, it's all about feedback and growth as well.
Stephen, how do you see young startups using social media to promote themselves? Do you think it's important? Do you think they should focus on the product first?
Well, I think in the product, ultimately you do need a product. So social media, I see it as a mix of how you need to present yourself to the world. And it does depend on the startup once again. So the company I was mentioning before, they actually do a lot of times visiting campuses. So that's, you know, talking to people face to face, that's social media in the old caveman sense, I suppose. So they definitely have a Facebook presence. We have a gaming studio as well, where we can promote sort of young up and coming games, and the part of the evaluation there is massively a part of social media because of the effect it can have. 300,000 is fantastic, that's awesome. Well done, that's awesome. So I'll think it's some chips off that, I reckon. So if we can...
Well, you can sign up to my session next week, $10.
So look at the side of this page, I don't quite need that sort of fashion. So, so if you get 300,000 likes, that's unbelievable. That itself is a weight for doing business. How do you reply when someone says like or comment on 300,000 on the rest? You get like a bank of people, they're going to like go, how does that work? Sorry,
It's just me. Yeah. Yeah, you just have to look at every picture and read every comment and...
Do you literally reply and comment back to everyone?
As long as it's not like, why did you put those shoes with that dress? I'm not going to like talk you through that, but if you're asking, a lot of people ask, you know, how much is this dress? What sizes do you have? Where is the link? Where can I get this? How do you do that hairstyle?
So you're a founder who also does all the customer service and so on.
Well, no, I can't say I do all social media. I just do Facebook. Elsa does Instagram.
So I'm an old 4-year-old telco guy, so I'm not the best guy to talk about social media to start with, but I'm aware that it's like print media, it's a numbers game. Just because a Courier Mail is read by 600,000 people supposedly doesn't mean they all look at their ad. But you need those numbers to be high. Social media, you need the numbers to be high. All advertising is a numbers game.
And Phil, for Halfbrick, what role does social media play? Sort of saying that when print media is taking off, you can see the numbers starting.
Yeah, definitely. We have a kind of a presence for Halfbrick itself as a company, sort of letting people know what we're working on. But we also have fan pages for Ninja, Baxter, and all of our major brands as well. So not everyone's going to like all of our games. Some people do for that. We communicate them in a certain way. But in addition to that, we are able to build a lot of that stuff directly into the games themselves. So people can share their scores, people can ask their friends for help, post their screenshots, or get in touch with us and follow us through there. So we have more than 300,000 fans, but it's more interesting, because we're able to sort of use our player base to generate that through the apps as well. So it's a combination of different things, which really makes it exciting. So we have a full-time guy who does that. I used to do it all, but I don't do that anymore. Sorry?
Do you miss it?
I'm not as big a Facebook junkie as some, but it's fun. I have a personal Twitter that I share news through as well. But we have a guy who manages all of the community stuff for us.
Halfbrick's become an extremely global company with games being played in the countries all around the world. How do you run that out of Brisbane?
Yeah, good question. So we have about 55, maybe 60 people in Brisbane, Kelvin Grove. We have 8 or 9 people in Sydney. The guy who started that was a guy who worked in Brisbane, and he moved down there with his family, and we started a team there. And we have a couple of guys in San Francisco and a couple of guys in Spain, of all places. It's like tapas. So we can't, and some relationships are more close-knit than others. Like the American guys, we meet almost every day. We have a publisher in China it's more of a licensing relationship, so we give them the license to be able to do with what you will if you're in China, report back to us and give us the revenues, and obviously they take with us as well. That's more of a kind of formal business relationship. If we literally upped and moved to like San Francisco, could we have a few more advantages? Sure, but we already have plenty to do, and there's a pretty good reason why we want Brisbane to remain its headquarters, because we like living in Brisbane. At least, and me and the CEO and a bunch of the guys, we're all locals and we like living here, we like coming to the Gold Coast, and we don't really want to be anywhere else. And we have the luxury to be able to just stay that way.
So, we're at Griffith University. What would your tips be for university students? Stephen, you didn't even go to university this year. High school. What's your tips for university students?
Don't die wondering, I suppose. And if you've got the idea, please get the technical skills. You don't have to be 45 years old and going, I could have been rich once tonight. Someone else did that, made money, whatever it might have been. While you're young and you're unencumbered without mortgages and kids and family and all the rest of it, for God's sakes, get out there and go for it. You've got nothing to lose. You're probably still living at home, spoken with your parents. Just get into it. There's schemes out there, there's niche schemes, there's accelerators and incubators that give you money, there's people who give you advice. When you're young, take that advice and listen to the advice anyway. When you're old, you just can't do it. You're just told to listen to advice. So while you're young, you're sort of capable and your mind's sort of nimble enough, just get out there and do it. Don't go with that regret.
Is that what made you drop out of high school?
No, I was a very terrible high school student. That's what made me drop out of high school. So, that was a long time ago.
Sarah, what would you want to expect from people at university now?
I'm a bit jealous of you guys. I wish that I had the time and finished my degree. I think there's so many things that I could have learned that I could be applying straight away into business, but I also agree that, you know, just do it at the same time. Like, don't do something stupid, but just, you know, have a go. Like, do what you can with what you've got, and use your degree while you're doing it, because it was awesome studying and applying what I learned from economics straight into beginning. It was just cool that I could see the direct results. So if you have a passion and you're willing to live and breathe it, go for it and study.
I mean, when I started my first business, we had to build a computer room. My second business, we had to build a computer so we could have computers on the internet. Now you have Dropbox, you have Microsoft Office 365, which is a brilliant product. It is so inexpensive. There's that many virtualized web hosting solutions out there. It is so inexpensive to try. If you told them you're a startup, they'll usually give you the first year for free. So just, you know, there's nothing stopping you. You don't need iron anymore. You just need enthusiasm. So go for it.
So I sort of view uni as more of a, at least say if we're hiring someone. Someone comes out, you know, I'm a graduate. I view uni as more of a, hey, wow, they've actually seen something through and committed to a task. And you know, the specifics, like what they did, I mean, yeah, it's good and it helps you do your job better, great. But ultimately, I mean, we don't necessarily need people that have uni degrees to we hire. But it's all about what you use. So if you're doing a games degree or if you're doing a business degree, like I did a business degree, when I wasn't, you know, studying about economics or whatever, I was playing games, I was writing about games, I was learning game design on the side. And that, in combination with my business degree, it formed the right person for the right job at the right time. No one else at Halfbrick really spends too much time thinking about it. They just like, okay, great, you've got a business degree. You know, we trust that you know what you're doing in that space, but you're also a gamer and you're also passionate about apps and mobile and stuff, and that's what really counts. So it's all about, you know, what if you love doing something at uni, you know, maximize it. I would say maximize what you love doing. And you know, by all means, I'm not saying don't continue. Absolutely, if you're at uni and I had a great time doing it. I was saying it smells like uni here. It smells like carpet and coffee. And makeup, yes, everyone's looking really fresh and
We added before pheromones as well.
Yeah.
First few weeks back.
Yeah, doing the hair really good. You know, I didn't do too much of that, but yeah, it's and it's just a lot of fun. So I mean, like I said, we've hired people who are like 18 or 19 because they're like, you know, Rain Man kind of prodigies when it comes to like code and stuff. So that's what I don't know about, but. You know, if you're the right person and yeah, follow what you're passionate about and make yourself as employable as you can.
No, one on that. I mean, the one thing I regret not doing anything of it, not enough of, was actually accountancy, bookkeeping type experience at all. I mean, if you're at university and you've got the option to do some sort of elective, whatever it might be, in some sort of business, and not into that, you know, MBA or crap like that, but really about understand the profit and loss, understand the balance sheet, understand the cash flows. Know what that actually means. So if you're going to step outside your comfort zone from your standard course, know that, because otherwise cash is heavy. If you get that one wrong, it'll kill you in a heartbeat. Forget profit. So do something along those lines.
Yeah, I was kind of I did the same thing in the opposite direction. So I was doing accounting and business, but when I wasn't doing that, I did tech and multimedia and stuff like that as electives, and you need to just understand how that stuff worked together.
How do you manage cash flow in the early days of the business? Because cash is king. Anyone who's starting up a new enterprise potentially might be doing it with their own funds. What are some tips that you guys have learned from initial stages of the startup to manage your cash flow? Sarah?
Yeah, cash flow is king and it will kill you if you don't watch it very carefully. I think with every dollar you've got, you've really got to assess what you can get back from that dollar, because if you're, especially when you start, and especially when you're fresh in business, everyone is going to tell you that their product is the best and that you should give them your money to do what they need to do. So I think researching how you spend your money, making sure you understand your figures, or at least having someone around you that understands your figures, and making sure that whatever you're doing is profitable. Because when I first started, when friends would come to me and want to buy clothes, I'd be like, oh, I'll give you a discount because you're my friend. But you've got to make money. If you're not making money, you're not in business, you're a charity. And, you know, charities ultimately in the private sector, I don't want to be the one to say that. So I think just really make every dollar count and do as much as you can. Like we were just talking about in the car on the way here, how, you know, it's really hard work. You are going to work. If you want to do a startup, just make sure you set aside the next 4 years of your life to be hell, and make sure it's something you're passionate about, because otherwise it will be unbearable. But it's so much hard work, and because you are your best resource.
Well, clearly we're not for profit, not a charity, Sarah. So, I heard once someone say that revenue fixes all evil. So if you have revenue, that's that is cash flow. Don't mistake one of my quotes I did ask for here was basically really, to be successful in business, you have to work out what it costs and then sell it for more. And it's about that simple. So that's exceptionally important. There's all sorts of ways you can get cash, credit cards. One of the biggest technological companies' success stories about to float on the NASDAQ in Australia is a company called Larsen Software. They funded off credit cards. They don't have a single salesperson to turn over $100 million a year after 7 years. So, surprising where you can get money from.
We're not still funding the business of credit cards.
No, they just took a $60 million investment from Excel Partner. Yeah. They've got a bit of cash lying around now. So,
credit card would help a bit.
Would help a bit, that's for sure. You make the cash, watch the cash, understand what the numbers are, and build. You have to pay for the service. Exactly. My accountant who works for me has the same. If you're not making money, you are a charity, and you might as well give us some instant support.
You mentioned find out what something costs and charge more for it. What are some of the things that people who are starting up a business might not necessarily know is actually part of that cost base?
Their own time, their own labour. So one way to actually get and boot your business up is that there's bootstrapping, which I've done, and what Sarah's done definitely as well, which is where you don't use other people's money, you use your own money, your own resources. It's called bootstrapping. So in that equation, what a lot of people don't do is equate for their own time. This is what you do if you do your accounting. Somewhere in your balance sheet, you might not be able to pay yourself a wage, but you should loan yourself that wage. So if you think you're worth $4,000 a month on the open market, but you can't afford to pay yourself that, you should stick a loan account somewhere in those books that says, I'm worth $4,000 a month. I haven't paid that. You can then draw the loan down later on to pay your wage. So they don't factor in what it costs for them. And you as a founder, you never can. 4 years flat out, that's 100% true. If you pay yourself the hourly rate for what people think you get paid, you go broke. So there's a lot of passion involved, but there's definitely a lot of your wage that goes in there. Other things, tax. So sure as cash will kill you, the tax man will kill you faster. So never ever done the tax man. Don't break the law. You want to go to business, break the law. Really, really easy. Be it tax or be it copyright theft, wherever it might be. You don't need that thread hanging over your head. Just comply with the law, don't break the law, and everything will be good. They're probably sort of the standout things that I can. And with staff, theft is an issue as well. So fraud. Have very sensible, have good staff, etc., whatever. If someone's sort of incentivised to steal, they will. Have really good systems in place to at least track what happens there. So that's a gap.
And Phil, before Halfbrick had the cash cow that is Group Ninja, how was Halfbrick run as a business?
Well, yeah, Halfbrick was definitely bootstrapped in the beginning. Being able to build that technological expertise and being able to build that, the actual engine-based tech that you need to make various games is you use that to then pitch a client, and they would say, okay, well, here's however much money, say $500,000 to make this game or this amount of time, and you can deliver it to us by that time. So what you do is you figure out how much it costs, and you would in the negotiation process, you would figure out how much it is going to cost you and your staff to make this game, and you charge them more. And you'd make a bit of profit off of this project, and then you kind of do it. And if that project turned out to be great, they're going to come straight back to you again because they don't want to hassle finding somebody else, and they're going to turn out to be unreliable. So you really need to continue to deliver the quality. And that was a good model for 5 to 7 years before consoles have generations, games have generations, less so now. But back then they definitely did, and by the end of that kind of generation, contracts were drying up, people, publishers weren't committing to various platforms as much as they were. So in a sense, Halfbrick had to bootstrap itself again. There's been pretty distinct phases in our history. So yeah, we spent the company money to, again, fund our own development, invest in our own products, and pay ourselves, and be able to just become a self-publishing and self-sustaining business. So the cash has definitely gone up and down, and now we're using that to build our business even more.
And just lastly, before we throw out to the audience for questions, are there resources or places that you guys go to find out information or that have helped you along the way to learn things that you might not necessarily know in business or in any aspects of what you've done?
Well, the biggest resource for us is just people that we meet, and I mean, online resources, like, I guess the way to quantify that is there's everything that you ever want to know ever online, and you just gotta look for it. So find out what you're looking for, it'll be there. Find out your industry of choice, there'll be a million different blogs and a million different communities about that. You study and learn and things like that, but just getting that personal insight, and it's tough as a startup to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to this event, I'm gonna go to that event. But like this event is free. Like no one, we're in the middle of university. If someone in this room is wanting to talk about, a game they're walking, then if they knew that this was happening, they'd come up to me afterwards and say, hey, what's up? I got a guy emailed me out of the blue the other day, said, you want to check out my games? I was like, yeah, I like games. I'll check out your games. I mean, that's as simple as it comes down to. And some people sort of view this as this big kind of barrier between the guys who are actually making money and the guys. No, it's not like that at all. We love talking to people, and we have the ability to fly to events in America and network, do all the official networking stuff. But there's so many other resources, so many other free things to be able to do in person and meet people that just should always be taken advantage of.
I love reading. I think you should always be reading a book about something that you need to learn about. But sometimes you might not find it interesting, but when you're just running around, or if someone's driving you somewhere, if you're on a treadmill, just having a book in front of you, always keep reading. iTunes University, there are amazing lectures by incredible universities for free. Like, you guys are at uni, so you don't talk to me about lectures, but they're free lectures online with notes and everything from massive American universities that I try to listen to as much as possible, and just never stop learning. Like, you can learn something from everyone, and if you take the opportunity, it's just going to increase your ability to do business amazingly.
Yeah, so what I've learned, I suppose, is internet full of information. You're never the first person to have a problem. Just Google it. Someone's fixed it for you. And
no, the worst thing is when you Google a problem on like a forum, and then the same person who asked that problem is waiting these responses, and then they post again and say, oh, no worries, I fixed it. Yeah. It's like, ow! That's more technical stuff, but yeah.
And then the other thing is network. So River City Labs, for example, we've got 40 odd mentors, previously successful business people, and people with a lot of experience in business in general. And people come to me and say, which mentor should I talk to? All of them, twice. So because the person in the fashion business, or a young lady there doing fashion, she doesn't want to talk to the guy out of the telco business, but he may know 6 people in the fashion industry. This is the age of LinkedIn. You must all know how that whole degrees of separation thing works. You network till you're blue in the face. You'll network from start to late. You'll code. You'll go without food. You'll do the whole thing. But at the end of it, you'll know whether you're successful, and if you are, you have a big smile on your face.
We might throw out to the audience for questions. Is there anything that anyone would like to ask any of our panelists?
like this.
All under control, you've got all the notes.
I have a question. When you are managing your social media, do you use managing your social media, do you use platforms such as our Hootsuite that brings it all together to get it all out there easier, or you can just take them each one at a time?
We were actually just talking about this today. I think there are platforms that Facebook's got, and they put their scheduling tools built into Facebook, and there is Hootsuite for Twitter, and there's so many different platforms, but I think it works best when you actually do it, and this could just be the myth of Sarah's belief on Facebook, but I think it has more virality and more reach when you post it. I don't know.
Something organic about it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like scheduling, it will give you your life back, which is awesome on the weekends and stuff, but you'll just notice that something that would get 1,000 likes gets like 100, and it's crazy. But Hootsuite's great for Twitter and really great for following your brand. So we search for beginning boutique so that we can see what people are saying about us. So yeah, it's really great for that. But otherwise, I do it on the actual videos.
You can actually schedule through Facebook. It's still got the same virality and everything.
Do you think so? Because we've been using it. We've been using that tool because obviously who wouldn't want to schedule it? But I just find that sometimes, yeah, it's just not having the reach that it would normally. But I think they've also changed their algorithm, and yeah, there's something's going on with Facebook.
Is it online so you actually sell fashion, or is it more advertising online?
Yeah, we sell clothes.
You sell clothes?
Men's clothes.
We can hook you up.
I've got clearly amazing fashion sense already, so I don't think.
Where did you say this jacket? It's
It's an exclusive jacket.
You know your business is made it when you've got your own merch.
That is awesome.
Yep.
That's pretty
That's
rock star.
embroidery. That's permanent. Yeah, that was more of a thing we did for last year. GDC, it's a game developers conference in San Francisco. It's pretty big, and we had like 15 guys going. So I'm like, yes, screw this. Let's like make these awesome jackets for us. And so when we're walking around, we look like the Sons of Anarchy or something. We look like this big biker gang. And the reality is,
The way rid of it.
oh yeah. The reality is that turns people's heads, and it's something different. And you know, we got nothing. Yeah, we got nothing to lose. You know, we're supposed to be a cool, fun company, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, we got people walking around the street saying, "Hey, you know, I saw your jacket, you're from indie guys, right?" And it's like, yeah. And then, you know, who knows? That could lead to something more, and you might find a really awesome person to come work with. I mean, yeah, you never know what's going to happen. It's really interesting.
Are there any other left of center tax systems that you guys have used to raise the awareness for your product? Not that necessarily it was thought out and premeditated, but
We used to, there was a company in Sydney, there was an international company had a presence in Sydney that used to pass themselves off as international experts in internet theory. It was a pretty dull thing only known by about 500 people in Australia. And they'd hold this conference, this independent conference, and wouldn't invite us because we were bigger than them. So we used to actually, if the conference goes all day, and obviously then they had little drinks at night, we booked the pub next door and put free beer on. And we dragged the entire audience over about 5 minutes flat. We'd have interesting waitresses working in the place as well, so we did everything we possibly could to get those people coming across, and it worked. You know, we just got we're the guys that go and see for beer. Yeah. So, well, I didn't say food, but it's interesting.
Sarah, is there anything you guys have done at Beginning Boutique?
I'm a bit marketing shy, if that makes sense. My mom's like, have a gorilla fashion parade on the roof, and then we'll put like, and I'm just like, I don't think we can do that. So, I don't know, I guess like, social media is free. So that's our major marketing tool. Free, not new time, as you were saying.
Sounds like you need to bring your mama out.
Oh, I do need to bring her out at the party, but I don't know, it's just very out there.
Is there any other questions out there? Yes.
Hi. So maybe less to do with sort of startup companies, but we sort of work in film, and sort of curious about collaborating with sort of game makers about sort of working on transmedia products, like across sort of platform sort of storytelling. I'm thinking that might be sort of like a down the track once more established, but do you have any suggestions for getting to know and in contact with sort of fresh game sort of people or anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm standing right here. I guess you know, maybe we're more open than other people, and it depends. Like, so are you based in the Gold Coast?
Brisbane.
You're in Brisbane? Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, there's so many different events. I mean, we're hosting a Garage Gamer event in the State Library of Queensland this Friday, and there's going to be like at least 10 Halfbrick people there from all different disciplines. And I know it's hard to, because I mean, not everyone can know about everything that's going on, but you know, it's just all about sort of just keep discussing things, and you know, I don't think that talking to people and getting your opportunity in front of people is the hard part. I think it's the quality of that. So if you've got some ideas, if you're working in film, or you want to work in an original concept or a new IP, and you want to do this big, you know, transmedia campaign, by all means, like, sort of, that's what you need to sort of outline clearly to people, and show them around and see what kind of interest there is. So yeah, I mean, there's talking to people is not a big deal, and you know, you've taken the first step by coming here and learning a bit more. So yeah, there's plenty to go on.
If I can add something to that, the one thing that Australians are piss poor at is the pitch. So you were saying that the Americans are at pitching things. And you get these young American startups, they know they've got 25 seconds with you, and they can nail your attention in 25 seconds. If they've got 3 minutes, they can nail your attention in 3 minutes. If you want to do something in the screen space, wherever it might be, if you go to these things, be prepared to actually be proud to talk about what you want to do. Because you might talk to the person who can help you, and if you bumble through like an idiot, they're just going to write you off as a loser. So get a pitch going. So this is what I do. I want to get into screen space, new IP, games, this and that. I'm going to create these things, and I'm going to be successful. And that's your foot in the door for the conversation. So network, but just don't stand there like a stone mullet. You need a really good pitch. So pitch is not just investment pitch is also sales pitch. It's a whole series of things. If you're not comfortable talking in front of people, get over it. You're a startup. You've got to start getting comfortable talking in front of people. Right? So
and I guess take the work away from the person that, you know, answer those questions for them. So, you know, we were talking about people approaching us, I have an amazing idea for an app. I'm like, well, I can't do anything with that information. And then, like, before they tell you they want you to sign an NDA, I'm not going to sign an NDA. I don't have time to, you know, do all that stuff for every single person who approaches me. But if they say, hey, I've got this idea for a game, also here's what it's all about, and here's the screenshots, and I've just sent you an invite where you can download a version of the game to play, then yeah, I'll check it out. You know, and I'm not saying that just to exclude lots of people, but you know, I've only got so much time, and when I have 100 people saying, hey, I've got an idea for an app, why don't you call me to talk about it? I don't have time to call you. So, but you know, but recognize that, hey, when I do, or when anyone from Halfbrick or anyone from the startup comes to something like this, or another night, or you know, makes an appearance somewhere, or has a focused testing session at their office, you know, that's when they're in the mindset to dedicate that time to give information about it. I mean, I don't need to be here, but I do it because I enjoy it. But when I'm at the office, you know, working on deadlines and getting stuff done, you know, I'm in a different state of mind, I guess.
But being in the internet world as well, I'd suggest meetup.com. If you want to anyone wants to find people of similar ilk, go to meetup.com. So there's like things like the Big Dev in Brisbane, the Nana Bar, for the game space. There's so much going on in the game space at the moment. So.
This event on Friday, can anyone rock up to that?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, almost positive.
There's a series of Garage Gamer events over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes.
There's a few of them.
Yeah. I think they already did one, and they had like a trivia night last week. So I mean, the State Library is probably free. So yeah.
Also on Transmedia, the Big Day Out just released the grants as well for people who are creating interesting uses of film and to like help develop those. So that might be worth looking into as well. It just got announced today. So yeah. Any other questions out there in the audience? No, that's totally fine. I think some of these guys might be hanging around for a little bit afterwards, so if you wanted to come up and say hi, feel forward recommending yourself. Huh?
Sure.
So, thank you very much, guys. Phil, Sarah, Stephen, you guys, amazing. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come out and sort of, let us know a bit about what you do and some advice for people who are looking to kind of get their own enterprises up off the ground. And yeah, if everyone can